I don't consider myself a very good communicator. I stumble a lot. I stutter when I talk. My conditions where I stream from aren't the best, but I do like to talk about things. And my problem is mainly getting started. But the introduction always gets me. Now, after that, I can roll. I can roll on because then my thought patterns get to work. Today, while I was at work, I always get my information from Twitter. Well, not my information. I always get my headlines because then I can um, research, find the links, go to the links that are posted. I do follow a lot of archaeological publications and archaeologists themselves. So when they post something, I always click the link, see how it is. Today, a nice Daily Mail article caught my eye. But before I won't start with the Daily Mail article. I'm going to start with the actual study that they cite and where they made the whole article out of. And they're not the only ones. I have another link. I've got another link in the description of another publication, which basically goes on the same narrative. Now, I'm going to share the screen and we're going to read the article that is published in PLOS proceedings. I can't remember them, but I have the link in the description. So it's fine for you guys to have a gander. And this is it from PLSO Plus One. They are a publishing company, a publishing site that not just a site, they publish scientific articles. And this one is titled Acheulean Technology and Landscape Use at Dawadmi, Central Arabia. Keep this in mind. I've talked about the Acheulean technology. I've made a video in my series where I'm following the evolution of stone tools through time. The first one, as you remember, the first video I did, and also on the first stone tools that have been identified that are made by hominins, was the older one from Olduvai technology. They are mostly associated with either Homo habilis and possibly even early Homo erectus. They also might be linked, associated with another species. So for example, some Australopithecine. We don't know the time period. There were a few hominins that were there, living in the same sort of area. They sort of practice the same type of economy, the same foraging patterns, etc., etc. And after that, the Acheulean technology was evolved out of the Oldowan technology. I've described it. I've made a video, and I've linked it in the description. So I'll just say that the basic characteristic of the Acheulean was the big hand axes, which were basically the Swiss Army knife of stone tools. They were used for basically everything. Now, let's read this abstract. Whenever you guys, just a small when you read an article of a research paper, first thing you do is you read the abstract. The abstract tells you everything that's in the whole study, right? That is the thing that they post even behind paywalls. And if the study's behind a paywall, which I hate, but this one is not. So always read the abstract. That tells you everything, the conclusions, what the methods, everything. So, and this one is on this study says, despite occupying a central geographical position, the Arabian Peninsula, that's what they're talking about, investigations of hominin populations in the Arabian Peninsula during the lower Pleistocene Paleolithic period are rare. Colonization of Eurasia below the 55-degree latitude indicates a success of the genus Homo. Keep this in mind. In the early and middle Pleistocene, they are basically saying Erectus. they are indicating Erectus, even though they don't specifically call him out. And but the extent to which these hominins were capable of innovative and novel behavior adaptations to engage in mid-latitude environment is unclear. This is the important bit, which I'll get to the article after this here. The extent at which these hominins, Erectus, basically, were capable of innovative and novel behavior adaptations to engage with mid-latitude environments is unclear. This is where all the articles that are on this paper get their idea, which I will tell you, well, it's in the description, basically, of this video. So you already get sort of a heads up of what I'm going to talk about. Now, here we describe new field investigations at the Safakad locality near Dawadmi in Central Arabia, and the aim is to establish how hominins adapted to this region. The site is located at the interior of Arabia, over 500 kilometers from both the Red Sea and the Gulf. It's basically in Central Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, at the headwaters of two major extinct river systems, and they were likely used by Acheulean hominins. Again, this is very crucial. This statement here is very crucial. Acheulean hominins. I've already established in my video on the Acheulean technology that it isn't just one hominin that used Acheulean. So that's across the Arabian Peninsula. Safakad is one of the is one of the largest Acheulean sites in Arabia, with nearly 1 million artifacts estimated to occur in the surface, and there is also first to yield stratified deposits containing abundant artifacts. It is situated in an unusual setting of a dense and well-preserved landscape of Acheulean localities, with sites and isolated artifacts occurring regular of tens of kilometers in every direction. We both describe previous and recent excavations as Safakad and its large lithic assemblage. We analyzed thousands of artifacts and excavated surface context. Including giant andesites, cores, flakes, small cores, smaller cores, retouched flakes, as well as hand axes and cleavers. Technological assessment of the stratified lithics and those of systematic surveys enable the reconstruction of the stone tool life histories. The Acheulean hominids of Dawadmi were strong and skillful, right? With their adaptation evidently successful for some time. However, these bifacial makers were also technologically conservative. Another important point, they were technologically conservative, and they used least effort strategies of resource procurement and tool transport. That is the statement that every other publication which I've seen gets their headline. Let's go to the headline of the Daily Mail. I also have here Life Science. What do you see? Life's laziness may have driven Homo erectus to extinction. The Daily Mail. Homo erectus went extinct because they were lazy. Scientists claim the least effort. See what I mean? Scientists claim least effort strategy for tool making and collecting resources contribute to the downfall of a primitive species. No, they did not. They did not say that. I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm just going to read certain bits here. It's the same with the science, this one here, Life Science, by Yasmin Splakoglu, and this one was written by Phoebe Weston of the Daily Mail. First off, Homo erectus, we don't know how Homo erectus became extinct. We don't even know how Neanderthals, which are very close to our time scale, time zone, time period, became extinct. We don't know how any of these ancient hominins became extinct. Point one. Point two, we know that other species evolved where Homo erectus was once predominant. In Europe, in Africa, in Western Asia, in Eastern Asia. We know these descendants, most likely descendants of Homo erectus, to be antecessor, Homo antecessor, or heidelbergensis, Homo heidelbergensis. They were the direct descendants of us. Homo sapiens sapiens, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, Homo sapiens denisovans. I'm going to call them Homo sapiens altiensis from now on, but I'll say denisovans. Now we know that we evolved from them because the genetics match up more or less. We know that we are related to. We have a common ancestor. Sapiens, Neanderthal, and Denisovans have a common ancestor, which is antecessor or heidelbergensis. And heidelbergensis most likely evolved from Erectus. That's just timescale. That's how we find the bones. That's how we find the artifacts in the archaeological record, the fossils. Antecessor is generally later. I'll go here to generally later than Erectus. But the timescale that Erectus, which is basically, that's what Erectus mostly looks like. That's pictures from I linked it in the description. It's from the Smithsonian Institute, and they also have one similar to that. Now, where's the dates? So I can find it. Where's the dates? Here we go. Erectus, most likely in here. Who were the Homo erectus? Around 1.9, close to 2 million years ago in Africa, and they could have lived. They most possibly lived up to around 140,000 years ago. And that is from some dates in Southeast Asia. And in fact, Homo floresiensis is being almost demonstrated to be a descendant. I said almost demonstrated. It is possibly the direct descendants of the local Homo erectus hominins from that area. But a general date of Homo erectus disappearing is around the 400,000 year mark. 600,000 years, 700,000 years ago in Europe. Mostly the same in Western Asia, in more or less where Central Asia, a little bit later, possibly in the 400,000 year mark. And then the latest, most dates that we have, I'll take this. I've seen it, but not in a scientific paper. I think I have it in the. I'll look it up, and I'll possibly do the evolution of hominins after I do the stones. So, but 140,000 years ago, it's still an estimate. And now, as it says here, they sought to have given rise to a number of different extinct human species, including heidelbergensis, our direct ancestor, and Homo antecessor. They are basically the same ones. They are the same. To me, they are the same species, just different names. Yeah. Going back to the Acheulean technology, I already said in my video that I made about the Acheulean technology that's antecessor and heidelbergensis. Antecessor heidelbergensis used Acheulean technology. Acheulean technology basically was used from around 1.9 million years to around the 400,000 year mark, when in 400,000 year mark, and then later to early Neanderthals, may have very early Neanderthals, the archaic Neanderthals would have probably used Acheulean, but Neanderthals around the 400,000 year mark in Europe, or at least 300,000. 300, I think it was 300. 300,000, I think that's around enough number. In Europe, no, 250,000, sorry. 250,000 years ago in Europe, when the Neanderthals became very distinct enough to be identified as Neanderthals instead of proto-Neanderthals, where they developed the Masturian technology. So, yes. The article here goes on to show basically the stone tools. These are most of these are cores, most of them cleavers or hitting things. This is here it is incorrectly like this artifact that you have here. It is a flake. Neanderthals chipped this off to make the tool that they were going to use, the Acheulean hand axe. Look how big it is, and you can see that. But here they incorrectly identify it as a tool. It's not a tool; it's a flake. In the article, I will show you it. In fact, the article, so you guys know that newspaper articles and so on aren't that very good. Here it is. Large image. Oh shit. What? That's not it. That's not the one I want. Oh, God damn it. Where is it? Nope, too far down. Sorry about that, guys. Technical problems. Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Here we go. This is a giant flake from layer E with a Aurelia flake still adhering to it. So that's where that was hit, and there's still another bit of flake that was still attached to it. So it is not what they say a tool in the article. It is a flake. And this is just so you guys see where the area is. It is in the middle of the Arabian desert. And you might ask, how did Erectus get there? We know from paleo environmentalists or the people that studied paleo environment. I can't remember the name. They're both geologists and climatologists, paleoclimatologists. That's the one. I knew. I'm crap at names. Sorry about that, guys. And we know that during this period of time, this area, and not just this area, but even North Africa, experienced periods of higher moisture, higher humidity, higher wetness. As it says, this place is located near the junction of the article and the study, two extinct river systems. And it would have been a lush place and a green place with a lot of game, a lot of resources. The stones, the material for the stones are close by. And so this would have been a paradise, basically, for them. Later on, it obviously dried out, etc. When the ice ages began. We are still in an ice age. Here's another, the researcher, Sir Shipton of the Australian National University School of Culture, History and Language. Technically, he's not an archaeologist, technically. But he's doing the study, and he's holding in his hand another flake or a core that was chipped off to make the hand axe. A skull of the Erectus, of course. And here we go, some of the Acheulean technology, which I've already talked about, so I won't bother. Back to the actual article. Like I said, in the abstract, there is no mention of Erectus. They assumed it was Erectus. There are dates. They fall within the dates of up to around 500 600,000 years ago. We're well within Erectus, possibly even going down to a little bit of an antecessor, and just the area, even the conclusion. Going back to the conclusion. Before that, the discussion, where they talk about what their findings are. If you guys read it, it just says this place in the Arabian Peninsula has a hell of a lot of stone tools, has a hell of a lot of it's stratified, which is very unusual, meaning that there was occupation in that area for a long, long time. The place was very, very ideal for them. They lived there for that long period of time. The sequences that comprise of 5 sedimentary distinct layers, A to E, meaning of hominin occupation. Of course, the lowest one is the oldest, the highest one, the top one is the youngest. That's how the stratification works. And when they talk about, going back to the top part, because I think I can discuss it better from there. It's easy also to follow from the abstract, where they say from here, these biface markers, these bifaces markers were also technologically conservative. If we know that Schulian technology went from started 1.9 million years ago and lasted until the Masturian technology of Neanderthals around to 250-ish thousand years ago, you can see that, of course, it was technological conservative, but so were Heidelbergensis antecessor, because they also used this technology. It does not mean that they were inferior technology. If they lasted that long, it was adequate for their needs. They lived using this technology. 2 types of hominins used this technology for nearly 2 million years, at least. For nearly 2 million years. Well, 1.5 million years. We should round that number. And by using the least effort strategy of resource procurement and tool transport, I really need to talk about this, because this goes into site catchment analysis. And hunter-gatherers, right, all hunter-gatherers, from the older one, Homo habilis, to us now, modern humans, we always try to use the least effort strategy of resource procurement. Why do we do that? Because hunting, gathering uses up energy, and we have to conserve energy as much as possible, because hunting is not a reliable method of procurement of food, etc. Right? Transport, the same. If hunter gatherers, a band of about 5 or 6 people, mainly male, that went to hunting parties, I said 5 or 6. That's an arbitrary number. Small bands can be up to maybe 24 people, individuals, maybe. They're small groupings, the smallest grouping of people you can have that is not just family, because bands were also extended families and outsiders as well. That's so to reduce the cross mixing, cross breeding. So hunter-gatherers always use the least amount of effort to obtain their food. Meat is a ultra high energy packed parcel of nutrients. Cooked meat even more, because of the way the chemical reactions when you heat meat, when you cook meat, it makes it easier to digest as well, and breaks down certain sugars and protein, etc. So it's easily absorbed into the body. So that is not laziness. That is why I object to these articles' titles. that they became extinct because of laziness. Least procurement, the strategy of least effort is not laziness. It is super high efficiency. If you can obtain the food that you want without spending much energy, that is being super efficient. That is not being lazy. That is actually the opposite of lazy, because you have to plan it out. It's not laziness. It's
There's those.
sorry, guys, my dad's here. Estou a falar. Vais deitar, homem.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. My dad just came in, and so the least effort strategy is not laziness. Neither is tool transport. When this is why I don't like modern day journalism, because they are lazy. They are using the lazy writing method, and I hope with my awkward delivery system, which I dispelled, that they were not lazy. They showed that they were highly efficient. Their tools lasted long. They did not become extinct because they were lazy, or as most of the articles which I've seen today. So basically, no. These articles from the Mail, from Life Science, and from others that I've seen are the lazy people. Erectus did not become being extinct because they were lazy. They became extinct because they possibly evolved into Heidelbergensis and Tessosaur, which then also evolved into Neanderthals, us, sapiens, and Denisovans. And that is not being lazy. If Homo sapiens could live as long as Erectus did, we would be the most successful hominid in time, but we are not. We are not even as successful as Neanderthals. So they beat us still. They're still beating us in longevity. We may get there, we may not. But that is another thing to talk about in the future. Okay, I will end it here. And no, Davey, that's not what he said. My dad just came to tell me that a football score, which I'm not very interested in. And so, yes. Anyway, people, I ended here. I hope you liked it. I hope I can manage to dispel this notion that these quote unquote journalists are pushing forward. They're lazy. They are the lazy ones, and I really hope that they do become extinct by lazy writing. But that is just me. Anyway, everyone, thank you for participating. I want to say hello to everyone. Beach, Davey, Jimmy Stiff Fingers, mate. John, how are you? And catch you guys in the next show. I haven't thought of what I'm going to do next. I might even do something before then, before my next What's Up in Archaeology. So stay tuned, and good night.